Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks. And today we're going to discuss the importance of mental health awareness. This topic is, as most of you know, that very close to my heart, and I'm passionate about spreading awareness about mental health uh, because mental health remains a significant global concern. The statistics, like especially the World Health Organization, released these statistics, and it shows that nearly a billion people worldwide live in a mental health condition, and suicide nearly accounts for more than 1 in 100 deaths. And it is still a leading cause of disability, responsible for 1 in 6 years lived with some kind of disability. So it is so important to have these kind of discussion so we can break the stigma and people can actually, whoever is suffering from mental health condition, they don't feel ashamed to seek help. And that's how maybe we can save some lives, we can save some people and give them some hope to live a better life. And I'm so thrilled to have with us today Andrew Mercein. He's a producer at Mental Health Television Network. Andrew's diligent effort in producing content that educates and raises awareness about mental health have made a significant impact. And that's itself a very big initiative to have the Mental Health Television Network that gives you the information about mental health 24 hours a day. So I'm so excited to have Andrew with us. Let's welcome Andrew. Hello, Andrew. Thank you so
Hi.
much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm humbled that you would invite me. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, it's an honor to have you with us. I just gave a little bit of introduction about you, that you are a producer at the Mental Health Television Network, but just give us a little bit of background, that how did you start it and how did you end up here?
Yeah, of course. So you know, mental. It's an interesting field because
Yeah,
it touches everyone. I'd say my personal experience. I just have a personal experience going back to a long time of dealing with these problems. I wouldn't even say problems, just dealing with this.
yeah,
Personal experiences. And so it's just something that I've always been aware of. I think a lot of the time I would have benefited from knowing that it was a normal thing at the time. For me, I'm sure it was a lot better than even some older people. But at the time, I mean, I didn't really know what this was. I just thought that there was something wrong with me, and I had my fair share of hardships and I had my fair share of privilege. Um, but life isn't easy for anyone. And I
yeah.
just think that had I known, ha- not having those resources and feeling like I lost, or spent time, lamenting something that wasn't really wrong at all, is kind of what motivated me to get into this field in the first place.
Yeah, I can relate. I can relate because I think those who actually go through such kind of challenges and traumas, they can actually feel that what the other person is going through, and they have this passion to help people. I have the same passion because once I had the same challenges, and but when I realized that it can be changed and life can be changed, and that's when I decided that I will be helping people, and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing mental health um, awareness and sharing information and knowledge so people can benefit it by that. So so tell us a bit more about that. How did you realize that when you were going through such issues or challenges in life, what made you realize that, or how did you cope up with that?
Well, at first, honestly, not well. Like I
Yeah,
said, I didn't know too much about what the best way to go about these things was. And I felt like, again, there was something wrong with me, but there wasn't really anything wrong at all. It was
yeah,
more just life is hard for everyone and it's confusing. And um, so I would say not well. All the classic ways that people don't cope well with these things, self-medicating, self-loathing,
yeah,
those classic ones. But yeah, basically that experience was just those experiences kind of shaped my life in such a way that when I had the opportunity to work for Mental Health Television Network, I know you were probably going to ask a little bit about us in a second,
Yes.
but yeah, it's just such a community of like-minded people who really care, and we just, having been through these things ourselves and had people in our lives who were touched by these, I don't even want to call them issues, just these things,
These are the challenges. I think
they're
so.
realities.
Yes.
So just once, finding that other people who cared and wanting to get started on, providing resources for people who were going through similar things so that, they didn't have to feel like they were alone. That was great. But yes, to answer your original question, no, at first, not very well dealing with these things because there's no, they're up to now, there hasn't been a playbook for it. So
and there's no guidance also, and I would say that there's lots of stigma attached to it, and people who are actually suffering or going through with these issues or these realities, they think, as you mentioned, that there's something wrong with them because other people make them feel that way, and that's the very sad part of it, that there is actually nothing wrong with them. It's just the reality, and then when they find right guidance, then they realize that life can get better. So tell us a bit more about this mental health television network. It's a great initiative, and what exactly it is, and how did you take that initiative?
Yeah, so what it is we're trying to be the first program.
I think I think there's some connectivity issues.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's better.
No worries, no worries. We're trying to be, or we are the first 24/7 streaming channel devoted to destigmatizing mental health challenges or realities. And we are in many countries around the globe. The idea is to educate, like you said, to provide resources, and really just to make sure that everyone knows that they're not alone. Because again, going through these things, you're not alone. And I think the isolation is the thing that causes the most despair. You feel like you have nowhere to turn. You don't know what to do. But our mission is to be a place where people know, for example, in the US, if you want to watch sports, you might turn on ESPN. Like you should know, hey, like if something's going on and I'm dealing with a challenge that I'm not sure how to deal with, I don't necessarily know where to turn. Well, I can turn on MHTN, right, and find resources for the problems. Or again, I don't even want to call them problems, for these realities that I'm dealing with.
It's a great initiative because that is the main reason that people are lacking, is that they don't know where to look for the right information and right resources. And I think that's such a wonderful work that you are doing here, that everyone can get just turn on the channel and then they can get the advice that they're looking for. And it's kind of, when they see it in the people telling them, instead of like going through the social media or like reading some blog, it is a kind of a passive interaction. But when they see it, somebody is like 24/7 giving them the advice, so it's more like a kind of an active engagement with the audience. So that's a wonderful initiative.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Recently,
sorry.
Continue. No, continue.
I was just saying, we have mental health professionals and real people coming on. So you're getting advice from people who know what they're talking about. That's the biggest thing. And we have a medical board who is extremely highly regarded in their field. Everyone involved. So there's no nonsense. It's real.
Yeah, absolutely. So recently, we've seen that there is a surge in mental health condition. The numbers are staggering, which is very sad to see. Like the suicide rate is increasing. The people who are getting into depression is increasing. What do you think? What is the main reason? If we compare stats from the last 5 years, there is a significant increase. What do you think? What is the reason behind this increasing numbers in mental health conditions?
Well, COVID, the pandemic, did not help.
Yeah,
I have to
yeah,
say, that's kind of like the elephant in the room here. It was very strange for everyone.
yeah.
Obviously, very challenging. Everyone, it kind of exacerbated a lot of societal issues that exist already.
Hmm.
Um, Lots of, again, just isolation, alienation, economic problems, everything that was happening then. Well, that really, and also kids, being taken out of schools,
Yeah,
people being taken out of their workplace. Uh, that was extremely challenging for everyone. Also, in addition to that, I think there's just, I can speak for the US, but I think that this happens around the world too. I mean, especially we're so connected online.
yeah,
A lot of divisiveness on
yeah,
social media, othering of people who have different ideas. I mean, half the time, you don't even know what's real and what's not, on the internet, at least.
mm,
So I also just think that I think that contributes to it, but it's a general just uncertainty and unease, and it's contagious. People start to feel uneasy, and then other people start to feel uneasy, and you really need to make an effort to reel it back in.
yeah, absolutely. Um, Basically, you pointed out a very good point here that the COVID is the main trigger point of starting it, and then we started seeing the numbers is getting started to increase. And the other thing, like you mentioned, that it's the a lot of people went actually into the devices that creates a distance between actually a human. Like people start connected, although through devices, but they started feeling so much isolation. And I think that is one of the major cause of people having or developing depression or some suicidal thoughts or many other mental health related condition, because they don't know that way to actually go for. And even when they were suffering from any mental health condition, they were just taking it like internally, and they were just fighting it with this mental health battles alone. And that makes them actually worse, because when we suffer alone, we feel the pain, like the intensity increases. It's just sometimes when you find someone and you share a little bit of your troubles, you feel much light, and you feel kind of the mood elevates. So I think one of the main reason, as you pointed out very rightly, that COVID has created is because uh, they actually put the people apart, and then they start feeling isolation. So now I would like to ask, like, my next question is that how we can overcome with this, and how we can help people, because people are actually now getting more segregated, feel more isolated. How we can help them?
It's such a great point, and it's a great question. Thank you for asking. I
Yeah,
mean, I think you need real face-to-face interaction. You need to
yeah,
see people. You need to be talking to people. You need to start conversations, about
yeah.
how people are doing. Uh, Ask open-ended questions. If you want to have a conversation with someone in your family or in your community, and it's something that's hard to broach, right?
Yeah.
There is a stigma about it. We're trying to break it down, but there's a stigma about it. But don't ask like, are you okay? Don't let them
Mhm.
say yes or no.
Yeah,
Ask why questions.
yeah,
What's going on? Like, why do you feel the way you do? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
You also want to lead with your own experiences.
mm,
Maybe if someone's hesitant to open up, you'd say how you're feeling. You know,
yeah,
Take the pressure off of them a little bit.
yeah,
But
yeah. I think
it is a sorry again. Sorry for interrupting you, but
no,
just to bring it back to like a broader level, like this is something that needs to happen in our communities. Like it needs to happen from the bottom up. You need to be having these conversations with people in your life, uh,
no.
because again, it's much harder to fix a problem from the top down than it is from the bottom up.
Yeah,
Starting with yourself, true too. You know.
hmm, yeah, yeah. I think uh, that's so true, that people don't open up. So we need to take like first step and reach out to them. and then ask that, what's happening in their lives. And the thing is that, as you mentioned, that people might not say, they might say, especially when they're going through depression and some like other mental health condition, they would just give you some brief answer. But I think it's our responsibility to probe them and to find out that what's going on in their lives, and build a kind of empathy and a genuine connection with them, instead of just saying that, oh, how are you doing, and they say fine, and they say okay, and I think that's a formality and it's done, and they go their way and we go our way. It shouldn't be like that. It's like we need to build a genuine relationship to find out that what's happening in their life, and that's how we can do more about it.
You're
So
exactly right. Yeah, just on that note, real quick, it's about being kind, it's about showing people
yeah,
that you care. Because so much of this despair comes from feeling like I'm alone and no one cares. But there are people out there who care. And it's true that some people might not have as, robust of a family network or a community network, but still there are people out there who care, and I think that you just need to find that they do.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And since like you are more like your work is about like spreading awareness through these different platforms, through different networks, how it can help to break the stigma, how it can help people to deal with their mental health conditions.
Well, it's seeing that other people are dealing with it too. Like the theme that we've been talking about is this loneliness theme and feeling like you're
Yeah,
all on your own on an island. You're not, you're not on an island.
yeah,
These are things that everyone feels. And if you see, in the spirit of the Olympics, like if you see Simone Biles being open about her own mental health journey, well, that can let you know, like, hey, like if it can happen to her, it can happen to anyone. So celebrities using their platform is big, but just anyone who has a platform, and I think this might have been something that you wanted to get into a little later, but the media, we are the media, and you have a power by showing people a perspective of the world. uh,
yeah,
so much of media shows negativity and
yeah,
panic and all the bad things going on, but in reality there's also good things going on. Humans are
yeah,
capable of bad, but they're also capable of good.
yeah,
And there's just as much good going on in the world that doesn't get highlighted. So I just think talking about the good in the world, talking about the good in people,
yeah,
showing other people that we're all going through the same things is kind of how you use those platforms for good, instead of having people open up their phones and just, or their computers or the newspapers, and just see dreary news on dreary news,
yeah,
war, famine, uh,
yeah.
scandal. It's not good for you. It's really not.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the main problem with the, especially like media. And to be honest, I don't watch all these like news channels and other things, but these kind of like the work that you're doing, especially the mental health TV network and these kind of uh, channels and the networks which provides the right information where people can find peace and solace and they find more advice. I think this plays such a good role uh, in actually helping people to deal with their mental health condition. So that's I just love this initiative of mental health television, because when even I was going through, and when I help people who have been going through, the main dilemma is that they don't know where to actually go and whom to actually connect with. It's like somehow if it's they're lucky and they find someone they can actually talk to, it's then their life can change. But a lot of people don't know, and this platform can give a lot of information, resources which can help them, you know, help them find the way to cope with their problems.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if we talk about like, especially if we look back and now, do you think the stigma has reduced or better, like how the society has evolved over the period of time? What do you think?
I think it's a process. And actually, there was an interesting study done at the University of Melbourne, which
Hmm.
focused on the language that we use to talk about mental health
Hmm.
over the past 79 years. And
Yeah.
words like lunatic or crazy, like those
Yes.
are less common now. However, there still is, we still call it illness, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's a ways to go. Obviously, if you go back even further, there was no conception of mental health as a thing. You had, people being lobotomized. You had people being institutionalized for grieving. Things as simple as that. Um, and so if you look at it from that perspective, yes, we've come a long way. However, just to say, oh, we've come so far, like we should still try and go further, I think that this is anecdotal, but in my life, there is certainly more of awareness, especially the generations coming up, um, about mental well-being in general and how important it is to take care of that part of yourself. I will say that a lot of the older people that we talk to, they are always mentioning how
Yeah.
they never had anywhere to turn, even, and this is only 30, 40, 50 years ago. They didn't even know that this was a thing. So I think that it's getting there, and also the other thing I will say is that culturally, this is a cultural thing too, because in a lot of cultures, it's still very, very taboo to have to show any type of weakness,
Yeah.
perceived weakness, I should say,
Yeah.
mentally, So we've definitely made progress, but not enough to rest on our laurels. We have to keep pushing and keep destigmatizing this topic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's very true that, we have come a long way, but it's still, it's a long road ahead, and we have to do a lot more to actually break the stigma. What do you think? What are the practical strategies we should adopt to break the stigma?
Well, I mean, the, this applies in every field,
Yeah.
like mental well-being comes to play in every area of your life, work, home, leisure, every
Yeah.
single thing impacts your mental well-being. So I think in every step of the way, we should be taking steps to make sure that people's needs are cared for,
Mhm.
whether that's, I know in Denver, for example, there's been some progress made on when police respond to 911 calls, right?
Yeah.
Now they send mental health professionals with their first responders, and they've shown
Mhm.
that has reduced the negative outcomes uh,
Yeah.
by a great margin. And the thing is,
Yeah.
there's not so much empirical data on a lot of these things, because a lot of these experiments or pilot programs haven't been put in place, but
Yeah.
we got to put them in place now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
The best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago, right? The second best time is now. So
Yeah.
I think that once we see how in every field this is applicable, for veterans too, like that's another big subset that needs,
Yes.
like, that just having more mental health resources is shown to reduce, suicides, and it's just so vital in every area of our life. But nothing happens just passively. People need to make the effort to make these changes in their workplaces, at home, wherever they are. I think that
Yeah.
we need to start just trying things out again. If someone could turn around and say, "Where's the empirical data that shows what you're doing, shows that this is important?" And what I'd say to that is, well, we need to do the programs that will give us that data. You know,
Yeah.
and I strongly suspect there will be positive outcomes from doing this.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The major thing is that we need to start doing it. Start making, start initiating the conversation, that is start creating awareness, and that's the only way I feel that it can break the stigma, because the more awareness we create, the more people will say, okay, there's nothing to be ashamed of, or there's nothing wrong with the people who are having these kind of um, different attitude or different challenges. So I think the one thing is that we need to take action, no matter how small it is. It does create kind of a ripple effect. So maybe if we are just doing just this podcast, or maybe like anybody's just talking to to their like colleagues or in the family, if they're just being kind to the other, it's just spreading the awareness, it creates kind of a ripple effect, and it starts to create some more awareness, and it starts to get, we see the result later on. But the main thing is that we need to start taking action.
Exactly. And I just think the other thing is, this is it's so important, because if you save one person, if you just change one person's mind, say they were going to take their own life or make an attempt on their life, or even if it hadn't gone that far, if even they're miserable, and you can show them that life can be better, that what they're going through is not unusual, even just one person is enough. So it's worth doing. It really is. Even if it's, the scale might not be big enough for some people, but again, it has to start from the ground up, right? So one person gets helped, what you're doing is enough.
Absolutely. In the beginning of the show, I just mentioned that, that according to the latest World Health Organization stats, around almost 1 billion people actually are suffering from some kind of mental health condition. And just like as you said, even if we are able to save one person out of it, at least we did our part. That's it. And if everybody thinks that way, just imagine the kind of magnitude we can create, the impact we can create with this way.
Exactly. Totally agree.
Yeah. And like, we're also like seeing a very, I would say, sad trend that, it is affecting youth. And even like we can see young children are getting affected by this kind of mental health condition. Maybe it was not, like, people were not even aware of this condition before that, but now we see very young children and especially young adults, they have been suffering from depression and isolation, and they have, like, we see the staggering number of suicide among like even kids and youth. So I would have like two questions, like why it's happening and how we can actually prevent them to happen, how we can prevent suicide, especially in such a young age.
Well, I think part of the reason why is that young people especially feel everything so intensely, and also a lot of the time they don't have the perspective that, things might be really challenging now, but they can get better. I know, for example, when I was going through things at that age, I certainly didn't, it's just hard to see. It's hard to see, and especially if you don't know, and especially if you don't open up about what you're going through. So I think it is a matter of education, but education starts at home. A lot of these people sadly don't get the love that they need. They don't feel seen. They don't feel loved, and that is so vital to the development of a human being. I can't overstate how important it is that you feel loved and you feel seen and you feel valued. And especially when you're that age, like I said, you think that the way things are the way they're always going to be. And so if you're miserable and you don't see a way out, it's as horrible as it is. I can understand how someone would be attracted to that option. And that's what's the really scary thing. I think that, again, this is a matter of education but at the home level. And if that's not happening, well, we need to just make sure that these kids feel like their problems are being solved, that their needs are being met, that they are seen. Again, I said it before, but I'll say it again, because feeling invisible is it's just something that causes this too. And I just think we need to get kids talking about it, really. Because, and just show them that we're there and that we care as a society, and even as a community, within our community, we should be doing this, but as a society at large too.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, I think, as you already mentioned about it, that, the COVID is the main trigger point when we start seeing the increase in the number. And I think that was the main dilemma when people are facing that, especially among youth and the young kids, that they feel more isolated, they feel more disconnected. And the sad part is that even especially when they are not heard in the family, that is when the trouble and the problem starts. And they can face anything at the school or at any place, but if they have that support at the family, at the home, that is their main strength. And I would definitely, whoever is listening, I would encourage everyone to have that connection with the kids, because that is extremely important. Once a child feel more disconnected, I mean, they will never feel more disconnected with anybody if they are disconnected at home.
Yep.
If they think that their parents or nobody at home cares for them, no matter what, no matter how the world is caring for them, it wouldn't matter for them. So I think it starts at the home level. But again, to make their parents realize, we need to initiate these kind of conversations, so their parents, or like in community as a whole, gets better.
Yes, absolutely. I can't overstate the importance of this. The kids are the future,
Yeah,
and the world that they're going to grow up, and their world is going to be the world, so
yeah,
it is vitally important that we are raising children that are, just not so, I don't want to say damaged, but are not so hurt,
yeah,
that are not so lonely, that are not so isolated. And again, COVID was a big challenge, but we need to prioritize it as a society to make sure that, again, this is happening. And I think part of that is prioritizing education in terms of how we allocate our resources. And that goes for all governments, that goes for all people. Everyone, again, if you think about how critical it is versus how many resources it actually gets, they don't add up,
yeah,
in the United States, they don't. For example, like you said, if they're not getting something at home, then they need to be getting it at school. So we need more counselors in school. We need more people. We need more people who are better equipped, because it's also not fair to ask teachers to take on the role of mental health
yeah,
professionals, because they're already juggling so much. I've worked as a
yeah,
teacher. I know how challenging it can be. So it, I think a big overhaul is needed of all these systems. And again, I'm sure there are places that are doing it right, but uh, we just have to make sure that, because it's so important, that we are allocating the resources, the attention, and the energy to make sure that no one falls through the cracks. Because again, it's such a tragedy. You never know who, a human brain is such a beautiful thing. A human being is such a beautiful creature. One person falling through the cracks is a tragedy for all of humanity. We really should not make sure that it doesn't happen.
yeah, absolutely. And especially for kids and for the younger generation, because as you mentioned, they are the future leaders. So we cannot, I mean, we cannot afford to lose them, and we need to make sure that they don't feel that they are broken or they are hurt. It's something that we need to join hands together to help them realize that they actually realize that they have their best in themselves, and they work upon that. So I think that's very, very crucial, especially at this moment, when we see that these kind of mental health conditions are coming up, and the numbers are increasing. Yeah.
Exactly. Totally with
Yeah.
you.
So I know that this is such an important topic, and we can go on and on. But the time is actually running out. So before I close the show, what one advice would you like to give to our audience today to deal with mental health conditions, or maybe to help someone who's suffering from mental health conditions?
Be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Just show compassion. Again, when you're dealing with these things, telling yourself that you're broken, or telling yourself that you're flawed, or there's something wrong with you, just compounds the issue, because you're already going through one thing, and then now you feel bad for going through it. So just be kind to yourself. Remember to be patient, and just focus on making sure that you're okay first, because everything starts from the ground up. Everything that's successful, at least, starts from the ground up. So in order for you to get out into your community and help others, you got to make sure that you're okay first. And just make sure that that people are there for you. things change. Times might be hard now, but that's not forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the world is better when people are kind, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's wonderful advice. I think the main problem lies that, when people realize that there is no hope, and when they see that, when they're kind to themselves and they see that the times can be changed, this is where people find hope. So I think that's wonderful, wonderful advice. And thank you so much for sharing all these insights and your views and experience that you have been like doing for the mental health awareness and spreading through the different network and platforms. So thanks a lot for sharing. So tell us that if somebody wants to reach out to you, what is the best way to reach out to you?
Yes, please. You can find us at www.mhtn.org or Mental Health TV Network on any type of social media platforms. We're everywhere. The website is a great place to reach us, but please, don't hesitate to reach out and please check it out. And Ambreen, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. It's humbling, and I'm just so honored that you would give us this platform. It really means the world. So thank you for the work that you're doing as well.
Thank you so much, and the work you're doing is really incredible. Keep up the same work, and I really, really look forward to working and helping you and helping other people to actually spread awareness about mental health, because I think this is the time that we need to start creating these kind of conversation, initiating the conversation, so we can actually break the stigma, and people can actually to make this world at least a better place. So thank you so much.
Thank you.